All right, good people, good people. Listen here, listen here. And I'm not making this live with an intent of having a live audience. I am just making this live um, just because. So I just finished. I look like I got a slit in my eyebrow. I just finished watching the Spider-Man No Way Home movie. Um, Not gonna lie, bootlegged it. Got the hookup on a real good quality. I just at home and watched it. And when I tell you I am baffled at how wonderfully crafted and executed this movie was, and just how raw and authentic and emotional, and I'm not even gonna lie to you, I cried about 5 or 6 times. This movie really spoke to me in my personal life because I've been dealing with a lot lately. Been going through a lot personally and all that kind of stuff, and over the last couple of years I've been dealing with a lot of stuff. And this movie was the best Marvel movie in the history of Marvel movies. It's probably one of my favorite movies of all times. It is just that well executed and that well uh, thought through. It was phenomenal. And I am going to warn you now, there are spoilers. I am not holding back like everybody else. I don't, listen, I don't even, if you haven't seen it, turn it off. Turn this video off. I'm letting you know right now, I'm going all in on this movie. I'm dissecting it. I am meditating it. I am deconstructing it. I'm doing all the moves with this movie because it is so. Oh, it's just so rich, and I love it. This is not my first movie review. I've done a couple of them. I did Candyman a couple of months back. I do a couple of movie reviews. Sometimes I do them on my Facebook, or I've done them in the past on my Facebook. It is something that I am going to start moving into. I'm going to create content for movie reviews, and whew, I do my own editing and things like that, especially for the podcast and stuff. Um, I'm not a professional, but I'm getting much better at editing and that sort of thing. So movie review may be something in the very near future, near but not close enough. Okay, so I'm just going live to do this movie review, and I'm just gonna leave it on my channel. And again, viewer discretion advised. There will be spoilers because I'm not holding back. I don't know how long this review is gonna be, but I'm telling you right now, I am spilling it all. I'm telling you what the business is. So this is Spider-Man No Way Home. All right, guys. So the movie, so much. The movie starts off exactly where it left off in Spider-Man Homecoming. I think was that the last movie? One of the last movies. It was Spider-Man Homecoming, and it was Spider-Man. No, whatever the last title of the movie was. Okay, it picks up exactly where it leaves off. Jonah James Jameson, whatever the reporter's name is. He's reporting the news again. Spider Man, his identity is Peter Parker. So from there, Peter Parker is being stalked, uh, berated, called all kind of crazy names, and you got this great divide going on between his right doing or his righteousness and his wrongdoing based off of rumors that were said about him, not factual things, just speculations, right? Made by my, about to say a name and spoil something for y'all already. Made by a Mysterio in the last film, at the end of the last film. So he's being, kind of tortured in a way. And so um, he's trying to get into MIT. Him, MJ, and Ned, they're all trying to get into MIT. They got a letter, they were denied. Okay? And not to mention, of course, everybody finds out who he is. Of course, they find out where he lives, kind of getting close, too close for comfort, security issues. Right off of the bat in the movie, Maddie Murdock, who is known as the beloved Daredevil in the Netflix Marvel series. He comes in, he steps in as Peter Parker's lawyer. So that is boom, 100% spot on. It's confirmed. Those who speculated, congratulations. It's the truth. Matty Murdock comes in. He is Peter Parker's lawyer. He gets him off of all of these criminal justice charges in the beginning of the movie. So as again, they're kind of too close for comfort, too much going on. So Happy, of course, says move in with me. So he takes in Peter and Aunt May. And also at the beginning of the movie, they disclose that they're breaking up. Happy and Aunt May, right? Great couple, but wasn't working, right? So they were already announcing that they were breaking up in the beginning of the movie. Fast forward, so now Peter and Aunt May are living with Happy, and he's providing sanctuary, safety. And in the movie, they're talking a lot about how Stark has some missing technology, some unaccounted for technology, and that sort of thing. Of course, y'all know Civil War and all that kind of stuff went on, and so Stark was in agreement with in alliance with the government. He was turned over all his technologies in that movie and things like that. So they're still looking for missing technologies, right? Well, Happy has one, and it basically is something that can create the perfect solution pretty much for anything, basically. So with that being said, we'll fast forward. Peter, MJ, and Ned are together. They all get their letters for MIT, and they all don't get in. None of them get in. And so Peter's kind of distraught about that because, of course, people knowing his identity has now compromised not only his position and the things that he wants to do, but it also has compromised and affected MJ's life, his best friend's life. MJ is his lover. And rightfully so, he's concerned. So he goes to Doctor Strange. And I'm going to get to, the parts that really choke me up in a minute. If I cry, I cry. I don't care. I booed in the movie. I don't care. Because it's just such a great movie. And again, a lot of parallels in my personal life that have been going on that I have not really been disclosing and that kind of thing, because some things you just don't want to talk about. But like I say, this movie really, really did hit home for me. So with that in mind, his current position is compromising his loved ones, right? So he goes to Doctor Strange. He says, hey, I want to see if you can just erase my identity from the minds of the world. Just kind of make it so that didn't happen. Now, at the time, spoiler, Strange was no longer Sorcerer Supreme. He no longer held the Time Stone. He no longer was Sorcerer Supreme. He was not the leader, right? And of course, that's disclosed in Shang-Chi, if you saw that. The end credit scene of Shang-Chi. We know who's running things now, right? And so he says, well, I can't really turn back time. I don't have the Time Stone. It's not me anymore. So, with that being said, he says, well, do a spell. And, erase the memories that way. So, as Doctor Strange is trying to conjure this spell to erase the minds of people, right? Erase Peter Parker's identity from the minds of the world. He interrupts him about 5 times. And in interrupting him about 5 times to change the number of people who could remember. Because he wanted MJ to remember, because he didn't want to lose her, and he didn't want to lose her love. And and that was a part of that identity disclosure was a part of their connection. So he didn't want to lose that piece of their connection, her knowing the deepest parts of his secretness, right? So he talked about, MJ, Happy, Aunt May, his friend Ned, I think there was one more person that he mentioned, and he was like, these 5 people. So as he's trying to conjure up the spell, each time he's giving them a different name. And so what that does, that splits the spell up in 5 different directions or something of that nature. And so it kind of, messed with. Oh, excuse me. Dang, it's a little late. I'm sorry. I stayed up pretty late to watch it. Kind of messes up the spell, kind of splits it up. So then it starts to become chaotic. Strange collapses the spell, brings it under control, and then he contains it in something to eventually reverse the spell. And so the spell does not take effect yet, but what happens is as a result of the spell being conjured 5 times at one time, it splits open a multiverse portal, if you will, and that's what causes the 5 spider villains to seep through into the current construct of that universe. And so, with that being said, Strange kind of gets on Steven. Strange kind of gets on Spider-Man, Peter. And he says, Peter, with everything we've been through, sometimes I just forget you're just a kid. You're still trying to figure all of this stuff out. And I forget that sometimes. And he says, but it's silly of you to have come to me to want to cast a spell to make everybody forget who you are, when you could have easily just called admissions at the college and pleaded your case and, appealed. Woo. I don't know why. A little dry in the throat. To appeal their decision. If you felt that passionately about it, if you really wanted to go, you could have just called admissions, appealed, and tried to fight your case as to why, you were not allowed in due to the controversy, due to the drama. You could have made a difference. Could have did something different to make it easier on yourself. But you're taking a hard way in a way that will bring about a lot of consequences on yourself. And you're going to make it harder on yourself. You're going to take the hard way out when you could take the easy, lesser consequential road and still get the same result. Oh, that resonates with me so loud and heavy because y'all just don't know what I've been through for the last couple of weeks. But it's amazing how, sometimes people can have a foolish mentality. And in the movie, he's just displaying his foolishness, his childishness, not growing up out of that childish mentality. And so he does something silly, like ask Strange to do something. Anytime you alter, anytime you change things, anytime you change time, we know about it in every movie. There's several consequences that come along with it. He'd rather do what seems easy but yields a lot of consequences, right, than to do the right thing that would be easier for him to do, yield potentially the result that he wants. And if not, the worst thing they can say is no, right? The worst thing that can happen is, you just to choose another college. You see what I'm saying? But there's a level of immaturity in Peter Parker still, that he'd rather do something that seems simple but is quite silly and comes with much more consequences than something that seems hard or difficult, which is actually easier and yields more reward. I land my plane there, as Judge Lynn would say. But yeah, I've dealt with that tremendously in dealing with so many different types of people, personalities these last couple of months. Anyway, so Strange says, that to him, it kind of knocks some sense into him. Peter's like, I didn't even realize that I could have done that. Yeah, it's called thinking, man. Just think things through. Don't just act on impulse, right? So he tells Peter, do what you have to do. Call. Don't ask me to do anything magic for you again, because it's gonna come with consequences. So Peter then goes. He contacts Flash, which is the weird kid, And he says, "Hey man, where's the admissions party?" They were having some MIT was having some kind of admissions party in New York. Why? I don't know. That part didn't make any sense to me. But anyway, we're having some type of admissions party. Peter says, "Where is it at?" Oh, the lady that she just left. She's on her way back to the airport. So he hops in his spider suit, whatever, flies across the freeway trying to find the woman. He finds the woman eventually. And while he's getting ready to, or while he's talking to the woman, there's some ruckus up the road. Out comes Dr. Octavius, Otto Octavius. So that's the first villain that's seen in the movie. Octavius comes. He is trying to strike Peter in his Spider-Man suit. He's asking, "Where's the sun? Where's my machine?" You know, all these different things. And so the ideal is that each villain was probably taking, almost like blipped, taken in a moment where they were about to be killed. And that's very, very something to keep in your mind as I progress into the story, right? So he deals with Octavius. Um, Octavius realizes he's not the Peter Parker that he knows. He's confused. He's trying to figure out what's going on, what's really going on. So he finally, gets him to settle down. And then Strange opens a portal and sucks them into his lair, if you will, encapsulating Octavius. Right before he does that, though, he hears the Gremlin. The Gremlin actually throws a bomb, uh, and it's a lot of action. Ooh, it's good action in there. Good action. The fight sequences are just that make you go woo. And it's very, very to me the fight sequences it pays a lot of homage to the first movie because there was a lot of good action in there. They were always long movies and they told good stories. There was in the first movie, Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker got his brakes beat off in every movie, all three movies. He never was like easy fighting, dominating. No, it was always down to that last wire for Spider-Man in that first trilogy. Yeah, he was always getting his brakes beat off, his mask all split. Yeah, yeah. So it was very, very much like that as far as Peter Parker's, Tom Holland's Peter Parker's fight scenes in this movie. It was very, very. He was getting his brakes beat. Okay, he was fighting for real. It was not easy, and that's one thing that I did appreciate. It brought some struggle to Spider-Man because this universe of Spider-Man, we haven't seen him struggle very much. He just kind of got privilege. He was smart. Stark met him and just gave him everything. Literally gave him everything. Gave him new suits and he got everything he wanted and wished for and needed, and so we never really saw him have to struggle with anything. Even in the first couple of movies, the first two sets of Spider-Man, they all lost somebody significant, right? And that sparked a heroism in them, if you will. So, uh, like I said, Goblin is back. It's hinted, but we don't see him in that particular scene, right? Uh, Dr. Osborn. So, fast forward, Strange takes his nanotech and puts his magic inside of it, and now it's some type of uh, portal transmitter to where when he zaps them with this bracelet, they're automatically transported into his lair. Of course, it has a protective spell, so they can't go anywhere. So when he comes back into the lair, Doctor Ock, he's in a little cell or whatever, if you will, kind of surrounded by magic. And Strange is like, well, I found a disturbance in New York. I went to go see what it was. It was in the sewer. It was this dragon thing. Of course, that's the lizard from the Amazing Spider-Man villain. So those two immediately are trapped in. You don't really see much of him at all, as far as his villain presence. It's not really all that much there throughout the movie. The main ones that are focused on are Doc Ock, Electro, Jamie Foxx's character, and Green Goblin. Those are the main three villains that kind of get majority of the camera time. So Strange puts them on assignment. He says, hey, go ahead and get on your social medias, look and see where the next disturbance is. They do that. Then they find Electro. So they go to a military base. Jamie Foxx's character is kind of emerging, and he's drawing strength from the new power lines. Of course, you know he's got a complete makeover, completely different look. And so he goes. Jamie Foxx tries to fight him a little bit of a fight scene, not much. He couldn't. Oh, excuse me. Oh, Jesus. I'm tired, y'all. He couldn't zap him at first with Strange's little new magic wand thing that he gave him. It wasn't really a wand. It was like a bracelet. But instead of shooting webs, it shot beams of magic that transported them back to the lair that was encapsulated with spells so that they'd be trapped in there. Okay. So at first he was kind of formulating with electrical energy. So when he tried to zap him, he couldn't do it. Not until he embodied and became human or physical again. It was kind of metaphysical, if you will. So he couldn't zap him. But once he became flesh, then he could zap him. So in the midst of him trying to figure out who Electro was, because he didn't know who he was, again, that's from the Amazing Spider-Man universe, he then finds another villain, the Sandman from Tobey Maguire universe. I'm going to just say their names so that we know who's who, right? From Tobey Maguire's universe. So then he's like, hey, Peter, what's going on? It's me. I don't know who you are, but can you help me stop this guy? Yeah, sure. Okay. Because remember in that particular movie of Tobey Maguire's universe, in that particular movie, he was not really a bad guy. He just got a bad rap. You know, bad things kept happening, and he thought he had to do bad things to get through those bad times and get to good times. You know, he had a daughter who died or was dying, terminally ill, whatever the case may have been. You know, so he just was a guy with bad luck, you know, bad rap. So he ended up helping Peter Parker. Finds out that he's not the Peter Parker he knows. This is Tom Holland, you know. He doesn't know who this guy is. But needless to say, he zaps both the villains. They get back into Strange's lair. They're still looking for the Goblin at this point. So you have Otto Octavius, you have Electro, you have Sandman, you have the Reptile. Those four villains are together. Now we're looking for the Goblin, the Green Goblin, Dr. Osborn. So while he's there, back in Doctor Strange's lair, he gets a call from Aunt May. Aunt May's like, there's this guy here. He wants to see you. So Peter runs and he goes over there to see her. It's Green Goblin. Now, there is a little scene prior to that, right before that. Green Goblin is looking at his mask. He's in an alley, discombobulated. He's looking at his mask. And of course, that dual personality, that bipolar disorder is telling him, you know, you're a coward. Don't sit up here and be a coward. You got a new chance, blah, blah, blah. Take it, blah, blah, blah. Excuse me. So he smashes the mask. He runs and he finds Peter. Peter comes back to Aunt May at this shelter or whatever. And, you know, he's talking to Dr. Otto Octavius. And, not Octavius, I'm sorry. Dr. Osborn. The Green Goblin. He's talking to him, and of course he's disoriented, discombobulated, doesn't know where he is, what he's doing, and then of course he's recognizing you're not the Spider-Man that I know, and blah, 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 blah. And so, you know, Aunt May kind of tells him, hey, you know, you need to help him. He's got some issues and things like that. He's discombobulated, and you should help him because you can help him. You're Spider-Man, and you can help him. And Spider-Man at this point in his life, he's kind of in a tough place mentally because it's like everybody knows who he is, everybody knows his identity. There's such a great divide in his presence now. He's getting all of this awkward energy from everyone. And so right now he's really trying to scale what's his issues and what's not his issues. And that resonates with me so much because it's like for so long I've been taking care of so many people and taking care of other people's needs and loving on people and just giving selflessly and really have been sowing good seeds and really trying to really be a good person to so many people, whether they deserve it or not. I've been doing that for such a long time, and it's like I got in the last couple of months, I got to a place in my life where I was like, you know what? I need to gauge. I need to gauge who I'm good to because there's a lot of people out there that just does not deserve the energy and love that I pour selflessly, like with nothing in return, you know. And it really really resonated with me. So Peter's like in this place in his life where certain things are just not my problem anymore. And it's sad to say I've dealt with the real tough, especially the last couple of weeks. I've been dealing with something so tough, and I'm like, as much as I want to say it's not my problem anymore, that person doesn't, or not necessarily that person, but that situation doesn't involve me. It doesn't affect me. You know, it's hard to do that, especially when you have a greater assignment, if you will. So it's something I've been toiling with for over a month now, trying to figure out, is this even my problem anymore? And it's like, yeah. So anyway, May just pretty much breaks it down to him and says, if you have the opportunity and the capacity to help someone, do it. If you're capable, if you're able, do it. Because it's needed. And if you can and you know you can, do it. So she kind of speaks some sense into him, convincing him to just help all of those villains. Because he realizes that all of these villains have faced a Peter Parker of some type and have died. And so what he's trying to do is help them so that they have a fighting chance. Because that Peter Parker in that universe has not killed anyone. So, and again, he's still a kid. So, of course, this foolish thinking of doing things the hard way, and it's going to bite him in the butt later, right? So, fast forward, we're kind of in the middle of the movie now. It was a long movie. It was a long movie. But we're kind of in the middle now. So, let's get through it, right? Power through it. So now he gets back to Strange's lair. Strange comes back. Okay, got all the villains. Let's do this. Let's send them back. Peter is second guessing, and he's telling Strange, I think I can help these guys. I think I can help them get to a better place in themselves to where when they go back to their universe, they might not be so troublesome. Strange is saying, listen, Parker, that's just not your problem. It's their fate. In their universe, their fate is to die. Their fate is to die by the hands of Spider-Man. Their fate is to be a villain and die. That's what they're meant to do in their universe. But whatever they got going on in their universe does not affect us in our universe and should not affect us in our universe. What will affect us is if they stay here because they don't belong here. That's what's going to affect us. He's trying to talk some sense into them, right? No, Peter Parker's like, no. They're good people. They deserve a fighting chance, even if it's against a Spider-Man in another universe. They deserve the opportunity to at least have a fair advantage. So let me help them and let me try to help rehabilitate these people. Strange isn't having it. So Spider-Man takes the protection thing that's currently holding the spell from going haywire. His original spell, trying to make everyone forget. And so Peter takes it from Strange. They go on this wild goose chase in the Mirrorverse, and Spider-Man traps Strange. Keep that in mind. He also takes his rings so he cannot do portals. Keep that in mind. So, comes back from the Mirrorverse, gives it to Ned and MJ. Ned has the rings, MJ has the spell containment. And in this movie, it explores Spider-Man and MJ's relationship a lot, which also just struck a chord with me because it was MJ's very quirky and very weird and very negative Nelly, and just has a weird outlook on life. And you can tell, even though it's not totally disclosed, but based off of the past Spider-Man movies and in the Spider-Man universe, MJ has always been a creature, not a creature, but a character that goes through a tough and toxic parenting situationship, right? Parents, just a real toxic environment, and trying to get out of that and escape from that toxic environment and finding that comfort and love in Peter Parker resonates, right? For me, at least. And so, with that being said, it just kind of explores that a little deeper. Not the whole toxic parenting part, but just the love and comfort that she finds in Peter, knowing that even though he has his whole world and his own world going on, his own troubles, in spite of all that, he's still able to focus on her and give her proper love and affection and give her what she needs. May not be what she wants all the time, but it's definitely what she needs, and she appreciates that, and that dynamic of their love kind of is blossoming in this film, and I love that. It strikes a chord, right? So he gives the protective spell to MJ. He gives the rings to Ned. He says, "Y'all go, y'all leave, find something to do." So then he takes all of the villains, he releases them, and he takes them to Happy's house. Happy's house has that piece of missing Stark technology. So what that technology is designed to do is designed to create solutions. So, for instance, and I believe this may have been technology that ultimately helped Iron Man find the his missing heart, kind of the solution to his heart issue, right, or his nucleus, his chest issue, whatever. I believe this is the same technology he used. So he uses that technology to try to basically rehabilitate the criminals, to fix them, to help them. And he fixes Otto Octavius. He puts a new chip in his back, that in the back of his neck, that helps him take control of the arms again. And Dr. Osborn is kind of helping him, walking him through all of this stuff because he's never seen this technology in his universe. It's a Stark technology. Incredible to him. So he's helping him, trying to help everybody else, right? So then he's trying to fix Electro. He's trying to come up with a solution. Puts something similar like to what Tony Stark's light is on his chest, and it's supposed to help, right? And so what happens is that Electro kind of likes it, and he's getting greedy with the energy that it's bringing him, but it's also making him feel weak at the same time. So there's energy coming from the actual machine that he wants to feed off of and overtake and just kind of mesh with to give him power, right? But whatever that thing that Peter put on him is, it's kind of making him weak and taking him down a notch, and he doesn't like that because he likes feeling the power. And at this point, the reptile stays in the van that they, he stays in the car or whatever. And so fast forward, start to notice Dr. Osborn kind of looking a little strange, kind of twitching a little bit. Well, come find out, Goblin never left. He was faking it the whole time. Waiting for the perfect moment to strike, right? So this is his moment. So in the midst of Electro almost decharging to become normal again, he takes the thing off of his chest, he throws it, and a fight breaks out in Happy's home. And then the result of the fight Sandman's trying to get involved. Octavius is trying to break them up, and it just becomes overwhelming. So when the windows bust, all of the criminals just kind of split, except for Goblin. So Goblin and Peter Parker, I'm talking about get into it. Square up, beat down like I ain't never seen. That old man was tossing Peter left and right like a little spider. Okay? Left and right just all over the place. He was getting the brakes knocked off of him. Fighting. I mean, they were squabbling. Okay? Him and Peter going at it, going in. May trying to help. She grabs these serums that she that they created with the machine, with the Stark technology. She grabs these serums, tries to run downstairs, and just kind of keeps getting caught in the crossfire. So finally, she gets downstairs. Peter and between Peter and the Goblin beating each other up, they just keep going down and down and down and down until they get to the ground floor, right? And so they're fighting and they're fighting and they're fighting, and Aunt May's trying to, help him. She's trying to help Peter. She picks up something. She's trying to help him. And the Goblin calls his hoverboard, and he's got Peter, and he's choking him. He's got him. And he calls the hoverboard, and the hoverboard comes, and in the same fashion that it killed him in the first movie, it pierced Aunt May. But not in the same, it was quicker. It was not as dramatic. Like she wasn't pinned up to a wall. It was just like it got on the side, pushed her down, and then it flew toward him, and he hopped on and flew off. So Peter runs over, and he's holding Aunt May, and he gets her up, and she's walking, and he's like, this is all my fault. I should have never, did this. And she's like, no, you did the right thing. You tried your best to help someone. This sounds resonating with me, right? But her words basically were, you really tried to help these people. You were genuine with your intentions. You tried to help all of them escape their fate in their universe so that they didn't have to die, because you didn't want them to die. You cared enough that you didn't want to see something bad happen to them, and you didn't want anything bad happen to them. So you did what you had to do. You did the right thing. You did right by them. You tried your best. That was kind of her words to him. And finally, we get the line, with great power comes great responsibility, right? And that portion resonated with me because my mom was very, 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 very righteous in the manner of, she really tried to treat people right. She tried to treat everybody right. Anybody that crossed her path, whether they wronged her or not, she always really, really tried to treat people with the utmost respect and give love at all times. I've never seen her just super angry or bitter, I never seen her just treat a person bad. I just really never saw her do a person dirty, and that's something that I carry with me wholeheartedly. I really, really try my best to treat everybody right, to have the utmost intentions and purest intentions and thoughts toward people, and I really, really try not to do people dirty, especially as dirty as I've been done by some people. Some people that claim they love me the most, some people that have called me friend, some people that have called me lover, some people that have just called me every name and good name in the book, people who have supposedly just been so close to me, and even in still, after all of the dirt that's been thrown on me, it's like, yeah, but I still can't do you like that. Because it's just hard for me to accept. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for me to accept doing you dirty. And so that resonated with me when she was saying, you did the right thing anyway, but it was up to them whether they were going to fall in or fall out. And unfortunately, whether you do right by someone or not, whether they fall in or fall out, that's on them. That's not on you. That's something that resonated with me, because it's something that's taken me a long long time to realize, and it's something that I'm going through on my healing journey, realizing that you can do all you can for someone, but if that's not what they want, and if that's not the direction they want to head in, as right and as much as you may love them or whatever, you gotta let people do what they want to do for themselves, because whatever happens is what's gonna happen, and that's fair. So Peter Parker had to realize I did the right thing by trying to help them, but it was up to them whether they were going to accept the help and become better with it. And that's just what it was, you know? So, of course, and then he figures out that Aunt May is actually stricken. Aunt May starts to uh, fall, collapse a little bit, and Aunt May dies. That also resonated with me. My mom died a few years ago. One of the hardest things that I ever endured. This was the hardest season that I ever endured in life. Was the passing of my mother. And I'm currently coming out, but currently having gone through what I call the second hardest season of my life. So since then, I've just gone through the second hardest thing in my life, and it's just been tough. But you know, it's nothing like losing a parent. It's nothing like losing a child, and it's nothing like losing a spouse. I always say those are the top three deaths that are incomparable to anything else. So Aunt May dies. That's like his mom. I get it. It hurt. So of course at this point he's filled with rage. He wants to kill Osborn. Just naturally. He just wants him dead. So he kind of leaves. Happy pulls up. He sees Aunt May pretty much fall and die. So for Happy, I can relate there. You know, it's him and Aunt May were close. They had a relationship. They engaged in a relationship. You know, so in the beginning of the movie, there was like this breakup thing, and it was silly. It was like breaking up for the silliest reason. But Aunt May was like, "Oh, well, this was fun while it lasted." That was kind of her attitude toward the breakup. Yeah, it was fun while it lasted, but you know, all good things must come to an end, and you know, it's time. It's time for me to move on. And Happy is just kind of so concerned because he's like, "Well, I do love you, and I do want to be with you, and I want everything between us to work out, and you know, I really do. You made me happy. I feel like you're my person." And she's just kind of like, "Well, I don't know. I don't know." You know, that resonates heavy. Another thing too is like I said, watching her go and not having any control, any closure, any goodbye, any high note, any last moment of love. Man, that hits, that resonates, because that's something I would never want to go through. Is watching my loved one, my lover, just die. You know, that hits hard. So it hit Happy. Happy ends up getting arrested in that moment. They're trying to not comprehend. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry, y'all. I'm tired. It's been a long day. They're trying to apprehend, not comprehend, apprehends Peter and get him arrested. He ends up fleeing. He goes to the top of some building. And it cuts back to MJ and Ned. So Ned still has the rings. MJ still has the spell containment. So they're getting impatient because earlier Peter had made a deal with them and said basically if I don't call you within a certain amount of hours or whatever, just push the button. There's a button on the spell containment that actually activates the spell, which would send all of these people back to their original universe. And just kind of the spell would collapse in and of itself, sending them all back to their universe, right? So Ned is getting impatient. MJ's trying to press the button. Ned's like, no, let me just see if I can find Peter Parker. So he puts on the rings and he's trying to create the portal. And he says, find Peter Parker, find Peter Parker, find Peter Parker. And he's creating and creating. Or thinking, focusing, and then finally the portal starts to open up. The portal opens up and Spider-Man in his costume comes running out. They're like, "Hey, Peter, Peter, come here, come here." He runs through the portal. So he closes the portal. Ned closes the portal, and he goes, "Where you been, man? What's going on?" And of course, pulls off the mask. It's Andrew Garfield. Pew, 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 pew. They did it, and I really thought like I knew they were gonna do it, and then at the last second, I was like, man, they probably ain't gonna do it. Like at the last second, not watching the movie. This was before watching the movie. Like all that time, I was like, they're gonna bring all three Spider-Mans together, and it's gonna be epic. And then it was like they kept denying it and all this kind of stuff, which I thought that was a ploy too. And then I saw something on the trailer where the lizard gets punched or kicked or whatever, but there's a removal, so there's nothing there to have punched him. So I'm like, they're probably doing that. And they edited it out so that we wouldn't know that it was all three Spider-Mans. And I was just toiling with that thought all that time. And finally, when it came through, I was like, okay, they did it. So Andrew Garfield was the first Spider-Man to come out outside of Peter Parker. Have a scene, little comedic banter, okay? And then he's like, okay, well, let me try to do it one more time, see if I can locate Peter. Let me try to find him. So he does the rings again. It works. Out comes Tobey Maguire. Now, he's not in his Spider-Man uniform, so it's just straight up old Tobey. Comes right out. Hey, I'm looking for your friend, Peter. I saw his face on the news, and I need to talk to him because I really think he needs somebody to talk to. Now, mind you, I'm tired. Iron Man is dead, right? Mind you, Iron Man is dead in this universe. So there's no Iron Man. He doesn't have a mentor. He was, fooled and tricked by Mysterio. So, and then of course he finds out that Samuel L. Jackson's character. Ooh, give me the name, Jesus. Anyway, he finds out that he had been gone for like 2 years. So, of course, he's referring to him in the last movie. If you just ask Fury, there we go, Nick Fury, he can tell you everything. He's my witness. And they're like, Nick Fury's been off planet for 2 years now. What? That's kind of Peter's reaction, right? So he doesn't have Nick Fury. He doesn't have Iron Man. He has no clue where. Nobody knows where Captain America is. He doesn't know any of the other Avengers. So it's like he has nobody to really talk to, relate to, or mentor. And so Tobey Maguire comes out as Peter Parker himself. And he says, I just need to find him. I've been having this feeling, this sensation that he needs me. And I need to find him. So, more comedic banter, more whatever. Then Ned creates one more portal, and it happens to be exactly where Peter is. They go out into the portal. MJ runs down. Like I say, this relationship development, that whole development between MJ and Peter, it really resonated with me. It really resonated with me. The whole dynamic of their relationship resonated. So, because there was like several scenes. It was like FaceTiming scenes, and we just really saw their relationship blossom, and we saw their closeness blossom. It resonated. I'm not gonna lie, it hit home for me. I got teary-eyed. It really, really caused me to reflect on some things. So, with that being said, MJ comes down, she holds him, she hugs him while he's crying, and I'm like, ooh wee. And I start to think back to myself. It's like there were some moments where I really could have just used that kind of energy from someone who calls themselves to have loved me. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's some moments where you just need that companionship to just help you bridge. You know what I'm saying? Especially when something like you lost your mother, which Peter had just lost his Aunt May, which was like his mother. He felt alone. He didn't know who to turn to. It's like, and she just swooped in and just held him. You know, that kind of companionship can really help you bridge. It's not going to fix everything, it's not going to resolve everything. But what it will do is it'll help you kind of bridge a gap. Because right now you're empty, you're separated, you're gapped, you know. And I've literally felt that kind of loss. So that's why I say the movie really resonated with me. I literally felt that and experienced that kind of loss. And that whole scene with Aunt May was giving me What's Eating Gilbert Grape vibes. Like it really, because that's another movie that's hard for me to watch because I've lived that. That was me. Like, Mama, wake up, Mom, quit playing, wake up. That was me. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. But that was me. So that resonated. Woo! That resonated. So, fast forward, MJ is holding on to it. That companionship, the relationship, giving him love and energy, you know, just resonated. It resonated with me. So, she's like, hey, well, there's some people here to see you. So, looks up, he sees the two Spider-Mans. So then he's kind of on defense mode because he's like, who are you? But he's realizing these are the Spider-Mans from these other universes. He's also realizing that these are also Spider-Mans that kill, because he has not killed anyone ever. So what he kind of looks at him, he's freaked out a little bit, but he's also like, what's going on? But then it's also like, well, you know what? Y'all killed y'all villains, and I understand why. A lot of things that have happened, if I would have just been what they wanted me to be, if I've just been like y'all and just iced them and been done with them, you know, if I would have just, and it resonated with me. I'm telling you, this whole movie resonated with me. Like, I would have just been like, you know what, F them, F you, y'all, you done showed me not once, not twice, 3+ times. You done disrespected me, disrespected my wishes, disrespected my desires. I mean, you just, as many times you done done me wrong, if I would have just did you like you did me. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally, that's what Peter is really realizing. Yeah, y'all killed y'all villains, and I should be doing the same. Because, for what? What am I going to spare them for? What am I going to try to do right by them for? And all they doing is ruining my life. All they doing is cutting me down. Oh, they trying to kill me, so why wouldn't I try to kill them? You see what I'm saying? He's kind of coming to this consensus that no matter how right you do people, or how right you try to do things in the world, things are still going to go wrong. So you might as well just do what's best for you in your eyes, right? That's what Peter's kind of realizing right now. And Toby's Peter speaks to him, and he just says, hey, we've all lost somebody. Andrew Garfield's character lost his woman. That resonates with me. Toby's character lost his uncle. Of course, in this universe, we never hear anything about Uncle Ben. So, of course, I'm not glad that we lost Aunt May, but I'm glad that Peter went through that suffering. Because, like I said, in this universe, Peter Parker's never suffered. He's always gotten what he's wanted. He was a kid. He was just he was a bratty kid. They got spoiled by Iron Man, by Tony Stark. So he needed some suffering, and he got it in this movie, and it resonated. Okay, growing up sucks. It really resonated with me. Excuse me, but he's like, I lost my Uncle Ben, and me losing Uncle Ben was not only unnecessary, it was also my fault, because I could have stopped it. I literally could have stopped it. The man who killed him, I hunted him down the exact same night and killed him. And guess what? I didn't feel any better. It didn't solve anything. Resignated. Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is literally saying, yeah, they did it, but if I would have, yeah, they did it, and I saw revenge. I did what I had to do in return, and I did them just like they did me, and I gave them a piece of my mind, and I made them. And guess what? I still felt angry. I still felt bad. I still felt consumed, resignated. I don't do folks the way they do me. Just don't have the energy. I don't have the energy. You know, especially somebody, and it's several people that I've had to let go of in my life these last couple of months. And I done loved on. I'm talking about would go to hell and back to make sure you straight, friend. To make sure you straight, homie. To make sure you straight, neighbor. To make sure you straight, lover. All that. Family member. I bend over backwards. All that. And I really, that resonated with me. What am I gonna seek revenge on you for? What am I gonna go get you back for? What am I gonna do this to? For what? For what? For what? For me to have to reap the consequences of that hatred? Andrew Garfield starts talking about his Watson. I can't remember her name. Anyway, in the movie, Amazing Spider-Man was just not my cup of tea. But he starts talking about his girlfriend. I do remember he lost his girlfriend. She died. He couldn't save her. He said, and that tore a hole in it. Granted, get it, understood. It's like somebody you wanted forever with, and you just couldn't save them. You know, you couldn't get them to see. Boom, resonate. So Peter starts to consider what's being said. He gets it together. They come up with a plan. They go to his high school laboratory. They start trying to find antidotes for all of the criminals. So they do that. And it's just, they're poking fun with each other. Another comedic banter scene just full of little quirky comedy pieces. They get to the new monument that they're building for Captain America. They lure all the criminals in, and epic ending battle scene. 3 Spider-Mans, 5 villains going at it. It was great. Great. Another part that resonated was, and I'm not going to go into detail about the fight scene, it's unnecessary. You've seen lots of it in the trailer. So, and you'll see it on your own. It's a great fight scene. It was epic. Great. One scene, I'll say this. This is a heavy spoiler, but do with it what you will. So Ned still has the rings doing the portals. So he's trying to close the portal that brought them where they were. He couldn't close it for whatever reason. Then he ends up opening another portal and comes in Doctor Strange. And remember, I told you that Peter had trapped him in the Mirrorverse. Took the rings so he couldn't do the portals. And which, now that I think about it, parts of that part doesn't make much sense. But it was a setup, right? Like everything else. So, he was trying to close the portal. Ned, he couldn't close it. So he ends up opening another portal because they run out into the area where 3 Spider-Mans are battling because of unforeseen events. So he's trying to create another portal to go back to where they were, and then out comes Strange. Now, what's important is this time Strange comes out. Remember, I told you he didn't have the Time Stone. He was no longer the Sorcerer Supreme, so he didn't have the necklace with the Time Stone in it and everything like that. He didn't have that. When he came back through that portal, though, he did. So, take with that information what you will. That's all I'm going to say about it. But just make sure you stay through all the credits to the very, very, very end for more information. Fast forward, now we get to the point where all the villains are defeated, and it's time for them to go back. Another epic fight scene between him and Goblin. Man, it was just great. Osborne, the actor that played him, as old as he was, that man was doing them stunts. Woo! It was good. So, fast forward, like I said, I'm about to end this because it's been an hour, but it's good. It was a good movie, great movie. Resonated very well with me. Now it's time for all the villains to go back. He's commissioning Strange to do a spell. Because at this point the multiverse is breaking open, and all of these villains and everybody who knows who Peter Parker is are starting to try to seep through that multiverse. So in the clouds, you see them opening up, and you see all of these Spider-Man villains, some who we've never seen on film before, but just Spider-Man villains trying to break through. And he says, "Well, there's only, the only way you can do it is if you erase my existence from everybody's mind. Just erase Peter Parker's identity completely." He says, if I do that, everyone, including me, will not know you. It's like you'll never have existed. You'll still be here on Earth, but no one will know you. He's like, "That's fine." He says, "Well, take your few last minutes. It's gonna take me a minute to do this spell, but just go take your few minutes." So he goes to the Spider-Mans. He thanks them. Then he goes. Oh, that's the part I didn't say. Okay, so there was a part where MJ was about to fall, and she fell, and Spider-Man was trying to save her, and of course he got by the Goblin. And Andrew Garfield's character saves MJ, and he's crying, and he's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And she says, "Yeah, I'm okay. Are you okay?" And again, resonates because it's like, you really, really love someone and you want to do the best and do what's best for someone. And sometimes letting someone go so that they can bump their head is what's best for them. And it's something that you hate, especially if you see it coming and you know what's coming, and it's coming from, it's like boom, bam, turkey ham. It's like right in, whoo, I'm talking about the wall is like right there, and you know that they're about to hit it, and you're saying, "You're about to hit the wall," and then they do it anyway, and then they do it again, because it's like, hello. But anyway, I mean, that was like that position. Andrew Garfield was really trying his best to save MJ because he didn't want Peter to go through that same experience of losing his love, like losing the woman he loved and wants to be with forever. So he saves MJ, and that was very noble of him. And it was just a real good emotional scene. Another good emotional scene. I was real emotional through this entire movie because it made me reflect on a lot of things and a lot of characters and a lot of people that have been in my life for the last couple of years that are no longer here. Either physically or just emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. I've just kind of pushed it all aside, right? So like I say, he goes back to MJ. He's getting his last few minutes, and he's just telling him, "You're not gonna remember me anymore, but I promise you that I'm gonna do everything in my power to find you, and I'm going to be patient with you until you remember me again." And she's like, "Please." Like, yeah, do that. So the spell takes place, takes real estate. He goes and he finds MJ working the same donut shop. Woo, Jesus. And this part really resonated with me because it's like I know what it's like, and oh man, it's so hard to watch someone you loved, invested in, told all your secrets to, someone who you were vulnerable to your very soul with, and watch someone you really wanted to exist with forever become a complete stranger. Man, just think about that. Literally have a wiped memory of who you are and what you represent and your intentions and all of that. Your goodness, your realness, your truthfulness, just all that. Wiped away. No memory, no recollection, just straight up stranger. Resignates. Peter had to watch MJ become a literal stranger to him. And he pulled out the piece of paper and he had written things down, rehearsed things, and just really in an effort to fight for his love and to fight for his desire to love her unconditionally. Resonates. And he threw the paper away because he realized all of that means nothing to her now. Not because it didn't mean anything to her then, but it doesn't mean anything to her now. Because she's incapable of seeing it. She's incapable of seeing it. So right now, say all you want, do all you want, try to jog that memory all you want. She can't see her love for you. It doesn't exist in the space that she's in. So you have to settle for being strangers. And maybe hoping that you can recreate a connection again and just still have a love, a desire, an intention, and for you to literally be incapable of participating in it. Gotta watch you be a stranger all over again. Spider-Man was deep. And her and Ned are still friends. I thought, honestly, in the movie that they were going to kiss at one point. Like, I thought her and Ned was going to kiss because the idea is that Peter Parker never existed in their mind. So I thought that they were together. And I thought that that's how they were going to end it. But they didn't. They allowed Spider-Man to have a connection with MJ and make a connection and know that there's still a potential for a connection with MJ because she still liked him and things like that. Like there was some flirting going on across the counter, but she just had she didn't know him. And he held on to the hope that maybe one day she would, not one day, but maybe he held on to the hope that maybe in making the connection that something would still be there. But it wasn't. And so he just accepted we're strangers again. Whew. Resignates. This movie was stellar. It was the best movie ever. The best movie ever in MCU history. Greater than Endgame. It was epic, action-packed. It just was great. And it really pulled on your heartstrings the entire time. It was just great. So that's my review. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of stuff I'm missing because I'm tired, but that is my review. I hope you enjoy it. Give it a thumbs up if you can, subscribe if you can. But I'm going to tell you right now, it was the best movie ever. And in spite of what I've spoiled for you, there's still so much more to break down, so much symbolism, all kinds of things. And it's really a great movie. So go see it if you haven't seen it already. But like I say, this movie resonated with me on so many levels, from love loss to friendship loss to parental loss to just all kind of things, losing your identity, watching people that you love become strangers, being dismembered from your family, not having anybody to call on, rely on, as far as mentorship space, or just even because regardless of me and my mom's issues in our relationship, we had a great relationship overall, and I could come to her with anything. Whether I did it or didn't do it, that was my business. That was on me. just being a son, thinking, Mom, you can't handle this stuff. But for the most part, I knew that I could come to my mom for anything, and when I did, I was comfortable with what I was coming to her with, because I knew and I could trust the space, right? So not having that energy wholeheartedly has affected me for the last couple of years for sure. And then not having the companionship or proper companionship to just help bridge that gap, because it's a gap in my heart that will never go away, never be filled, because I'm young, I don't have kids. There was a lot of things that I wanted my mom to see before she left this earth. She'll never be able to see physically, and spare me with those. She's here in spirit and all that. Listen, I done heard that 1,000 ways till Sunday. Again, until you've gone through the loss, it doesn't help. I'm just telling you right now, it doesn't help. But I do know my mom is with me, but I don't need the pep talk. I'm just being honest. I'm just telling you how I feel and how it's been hard to not have that source to say, "Hey, Mom, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm going through. What you think I should do right here? What you think I should do about that?" And again, not only not having mom as one element, but not also having companionship, proper companionship, even in that time, being with someone at that, being in a relationship with someone at that point in time in my life who literally didn't show up for me, not the way that it was needed and necessary, and not just about even expectation. It's literally like, if it were you, you know, there's no question of whether if I would have showed up or not. Like, that's something you show up for, regardless of whatever circumstance. So not having that companionship, even to just bridge that gap, to say, you know what, I'm dealing with it's a tough day, but you know what, I got you. Yeah, no, is this movie resonated. This movie resonated. It really resonated with me. It made me realize a lot of stuff. It made me really, really realize a lot of stuff. So I love y'all. This ain't a podcast, but as I tell y'all at the end of every episode, go and be great because you can. It was the best movie in cinematic history. It's probably going to be one of my favorite movies ever, hands down. I'm debating on it, but it's real, real close. I'm really, really just about to call it. And just to confirm, yes, they did do all three Spider-Mans. Everything, it met expectations and blew expectations. So, all right, I love y'all. Been in this too long. I'm going to bed. Good night.